This is a great day, not only here in Kansas City, but across the country, as we make people aware of what the Federal Reserve is. Yes, what a great day to say in the Fed. Most people don't realize that the Fed is a central bank. Central banks are supposed to implement a country's fiscal policies. They monitor commercial banks to ensure that they are doing the job that they are supposed to be doing. In theory, a central bank should be good for the country. And they might be if it wasn't for the fact that they are not controlled by the government of the country they are serving. Private central banks, including our Fed, operate not in the interest of the public good, but for profit. President Andrew Jackson won the presidency in 1828 with a promise to end the national debt and eliminate the United States banking system. They had one banking system for 10 years prior to that expired. The people of the country could see that it was bad. During his second term, President Jackson withdrew all government funds from the bank, and on January 8, 1835, he paid off the national debt. He is the only president in history to have this distinction. Following that, we had 50 to 60 years of good growth. Why? Because we did not have private banks controlling our money supply. The banks would assume all control of the American economy by controlling the issue of its money. However, after a huge public relations campaign engineered by foreign central banks, the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was slipped through Congress during Christmas recess. We've heard of many things being slipped in while people were asleep, like the Real ID Act and many other things which you have to be aware of. President Woodrow Wilson, pressured by his political and financial survivors, signed it in December 23, 1913. You know, let's think about what the name says. The Act created the Federal Reserve System, a name carefully selected and designed to deceive. What does federal mean? It would lead one to believe that it's part of the government. Reserve would lead one to believe it's currency backed by gold or silver. And system, that was used in lieu of the word bank, so no one would conclude that a new central bank had been created. Do you realize that the Fed's the only for-profit corporation in America that is exempt from federal and state taxes? This private bank making billions and trillions do not have to pay taxes on this money that they are making. The banking families were from Europe. Many of the huge, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, many who controlled our federal supply. When you pay your taxes, if you pay your taxes, what does it say on the back when you get your check back? Look at the back of it. It's payable to the IRS, and you see that it's been endorsed. Pay any Federal Reserve Bank, to branch, or general depository for credit to the U.S. Treasury. This is in payment of U.S. obligations. Yes, that's right. Every dime you pay in your income tax is going to those private banking families known as the Fed, and those are tax-free, as I said. When was the income tax created? 1913. Why was it created?
To steal our money.
They had to find some way to pay that back, right? The income tax was created to complete the illusion that real money had been lent, and therefore real money had to be repaid. And you thought Houdini was good when he was created the illusion. Okay. It says in the Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution specifically says that Congress is the only body that can coin money and regulate the value thereof. The U.S. Constitution has never been amended to allow anyone other than Congress to coin or regulate currency. To quote Thomas Jefferson, one of the very wise words he said, if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issuance of their currencies, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and corporations will grow up around them and will derive the people of their prosperity until their children will wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. Jefferson saw it coming 150 years ago. The question is, can you now see what is in store for us if we allow the Fed to continue controlling our country? I think you do. Everyone here can see that. In June the 4th, 1963, and I see several placards here that you're well educated on this, a virtually unknown presidential decree, Executive Order 11110, was signed with the authority to basically strip the Federal Reserve Bank of the power to loan money to the United States government with interest. With a stroke of the pen, President Kennedy declared the privately owned Federal Reserve Bank would soon be out of business. And the Fed, 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 and the Fed. Any one person or any closely knit group who has a lot of money has a lot of power. Now imagine a group of people who have the power to create money. Imagine the power these people would have. That is what they have right now with these privately owned Fed banks that we have. One man probably did more than anything else to expose the power of the Fed. Louis McFadden, who was chairman of the House Banking Committee back in the 30s. He said in the Federal Congressional Record, "Mr. Chairman, we have in this country one of the most corrupt institutions the world has ever known. I refer to the Federal Reserve Board and the Federal Reserve Banks. The Federal Reserve Board, a government board, has cheated the government of the United States and the people of the United States out of their money, together costing this country enough money to pay the national debt several times over." What true words were ever said? The Fed has to be stopped. We have to do away with it. And as we said before, the 16th Amendment was strictly to pay income tax, to pay the interest, and repay the loan to these federal banks. Federal banks have lived their time out, but what do we do now? What do you as citizens of this country do? Take the power back. We need to make the people of this country aware of what this scam is. Very few people do not understand the Federal Reserve Bank is not part of the federal government. We must continue to elect men and women who will uphold the Constitution so we can take back our country and take back the 10th Amendment, which is a states' rights issue that we have. We have to start substituting real money for this fake money. Yes. Copies of silver certificates. What does it say? Silver certificate. This certifies that there is on deposit in the Treasury of the United States of America, in this case $5 in silver, payable to the bearer on demand. So if you forgot what these look like, pass them out and you see what they look like. They are non-negotiable, as you'll find out. It's printed on there. But that is what we need to get back.
Need to get back to the Constitution, too.
Get back to the Constitution. Yeah. The Constitution says they have no authority to do that. So get to know your neighbors, educate people. The time is right. Right now our federal government is continuing to print billions of dollars, and who's going to pay that back? Our children, our grandchildren, if we're ever able to do that. Now is the time to educate people on what a defunct system we have out there, and it's time for us to take it back. Today, this is a start all across the nation. Hopefully it'll be a wake-up call to not only people in Kansas City, but around the country. Yeah. Thank you for your work that you're doing, and let's continue to spread the word as we go around. Yeah.